Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. It's Julie Hoffman with the Gold Nuggets podcast. And this is my third podcast with Debbie Balfour. She is a professional real estate investor, mother, wife, entrepreneur, course creator. She wears a lot of hats. And we did a podcast a couple times ago about some of the exciting things that happened to her in 2023. And when I say exciting, I mean fairly traumatic. And the way she walked through those traumatizing experiences, I felt, and I'm sure any of you who listen to it, and if you haven't, go back and listen. I felt inspired by it's tough to get knocked down, but she just keeps getting back up and keeps fighting the good fight. And Debbie and I have something somewhat in common. One of the stories that she shared was that her house burnt down. And I live in West Kelowna in British Columbia, but she lives in the lower mainland in British Columbia. I live in West Kelowna in British Columbia. And we had a devastating fire that consumed 200 properties. And this fire was about 100 feet from my house. I was evacuated for 2 weeks. Didn't know if I had a house to come back to. I thought of Debbie often. Unfortunately, a lot of my neighbors, not a lot, but a good 30 houses in my neighborhood did not survive that fire, ranging from homeowners to people that were renting. And so we're going to be talking today some lessons that Debbie has learned going through the experience. She's definitely an expert, not only from the homeowner side of things, but also the real estate investor side of things. So, I'm just going to hand it over to you, Debbie. If you would need to add anything, please do so. I know everybody's going to get a lot out of this, something that you never think is going to happen to you, but sometimes does. So you might as well be ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it took 30 minutes for me to lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the hot tub in my neighbor's backyard started smoking. We weren't aware of it, but our neighbor across the road with a doorbell camera actually captured it to when my house ignited, and very quickly. It seemed like seconds for it to just be engulfed in flames. So you think that it's not going to happen to you. In fact, as I was watching the fire outside in my backyard on the fence, coming towards the house, I was still convinced in my dumb mind that my house was going to be saved. Somebody was going to throw some buckets of water and get some hoses out there and get it out, and my house would be saved.
Yeah.
Right. So even in that moment, I didn't think it would happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it does. It does, right? And you never know when it's your time. And I, my first thought when I ran out of my house, and I remember one of my neighbors greeting me and hugging me as I was crying, and I was yelling, stop, I can't, I was kind of stopping no, I think it was the words I was doing. No, I worked so hard for this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then a few, what seemed like a few minutes later, I'm a very spiritual person. So I got down on my knees and I prayed, and I thanked God that we were out of there safely. But I asked, what was the lesson? What is it that I need to learn from this? Mm-hmm. Right? Because I believe in everything that happens, there's something to learn. And so thank you so much, Julie, for inviting me here, because I think part of that is to share my story with others so that others can be prepared in these situations. Right? Yeah. So some of the things that I did well, that thank goodness that I had done it, is number one, from a real estate investing perspective too, this was great, is that I had a HELOC on my house, right? So I had taken out the HELOC and I had leveraged it, and actually the year before, I had extended that HELOC because I had paid off my mortgage due to real estate investing. I was able to pay off my mortgage, 5 years earlier. And, but then, that money came, then I went back to the bank and go, okay, my house is worth more. I've paid off my mortgage. I want a bigger HELOC, right? So that I can, leverage that. As a result of doing the HELOC, the appraiser, because this was still during, still remnants of COVID. And I think the inspector was just, the appraiser was just lazy anyways. He was just using it. He says, oh, due to COVID and we're not coming into the homes, take pictures of it and send to him. So
let me pause you real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to do this. But for those of you who don't know what a HELOC is, it's called a home equity line of credit. And it's different than a mortgage because you only have to pay interest on the loan amount versus a mortgage, which is a principal and interest, and it gets paid down over time. But you can use all of your HELOC at once, or you can use little pieces of it and pay it off without penalty. So there are definitely some benefits and also definitely some drawbacks to HELOCs, but I just wanted to quickly define that for anybody that's like, what's a HELOC?
Yeah, exactly. So so but I mean, for me, I like the HELOC. So number one, remember I said I paid off my mortgage, so I had money and I could have used that money to invest that money into it. Like I could have taken that money and reinvested that money. But what I did was paid off my mortgage so that I could increase my HELOC, and I still had that money to invest. So, but then if I had paid it into, if I didn't pay down my mortgage, all that mortgage interest I can't write off.
Right.
But the HELOC interest, now that's being used for an investment, I can write off. So that was my rush to, pay off my mortgage and now have the HELOC there, more in the HELOC for me to use. So why am I saying this? Because somewhere on my desk here, I have my assessment for this year. Right. So my home now is assessed at 200,000 because it's burnt out.
Yeah.
All right. And last year it was 1.2 million.
Yeah.
So, if I didn't already have that HELOC there, I'd have to wait until I, rebuilt my home before I could leverage that money. But I already had it. I had taken steps to right away increase it. It's fully leveraged. I've used up all that money too. So I've lost my home, but I haven't lost everything. Like I've lost all my, all the material things that were, memories and and our home that represents security for me. But I have 5 properties.
You have a place to live if you need it.
if I wanted to. Mind you, at the time when it happened, they were all occupied.
Poor homeless Debbie with the 5 properties.
I'm homeless, but I kept saying, I'm homeless, but not homeless.
One homeless. I'm glad you can giggle about it, and folks, if you can find the grace, like Debbie said, find the lesson. And also, like, it could have happened in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Right. So when you were all sleeping. I mean, you've talked about that. And it sounds like what was I going to say? Having that HELOC in place probably helped you just restart more easily are you going to get into that?
Yeah, well, I mean, having the HELOC in place, it's like, like I said, I've lost everything in the home, but I haven't lost everything. Because imagine if I didn't have that HELOC, I didn't have that leverage, I don't have these investments, how I would have felt with my house that I worked so hard for gone, right? I'd only like five years before done a full, a major renovation on the inside. I'd replaced my kitchen that I waited like 15 years to replace, to redo. I'd just gone out, I'd replaced the bathrooms for the kids' bathroom. Like most of it was updated except for our master, right?
Right. Can you go back to the appraiser? I cut you off and I
Mhm.
apologize for that. With the appraiser, it was kind of during COVID. Sorry, could you expand on what happened there and how that might have affected things?
So yeah, so the appraiser, because he was being lazy, asked me to take pictures. Now I have pictures of my home though. So although
Mhm.
I was saying, how lazy he was and everything, I had to go around and take pictures of my home so that he could see and to present it in such a light so that he could give me the highest amount of appraisal money. Right. So I mean, so that kind of this has saved me right now because when after it's burnt out and they're going through it, it's harder. So we did. I mean, I have got a company that's representing me in this, so I'm not dealing with the insurance company myself. I
Mhm.
have what's called public adjusters, like you would a lawyer,
Mm.
right? So these are, people who are versed in the insurance business that are representing me on my behalf because they can read the policy and explain things to me and know what's possible and what isn't. Where as just a homeowner that's never worked in the insurance company, I don't know what I can or can't do.
Right.
Right. So
So,
I'll get into a bit more of like from the insurance perspective in a moment.
and I don't, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to again, it's the Gold Nuggets podcast. And I think that everybody pause. If you're in your house, pause this right now. Go take photos of every room in your house right now. Just go
Yep.
do it real quick. We'll wait. Be right there when you get back. And you'll have it
Exactly.
done. You'll have it done.
And more so take pictures and take videos.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
because that too will help more. But do take pictures, especially if you've recently done a renovation, and
Mhm.
do this regularly. So if you've renovated your home, you want to, as soon as you finish the renovation, redo the pictures so
Mhm.
that they can see, if you had laminate before, now you've got quartz countertops and, all of those kind of things. It all counts. You need that. Because like I said, when it's burnt out, although we did do a Matterport of it,
Yeah.
it's so dark in there. The lights are now off because it's burnt out. You can't have the electricity on,
Mhm.
all these things. It's wrecked. So you can't see what was really there. My son's room was incinerated, my younger son's room.
Mm.
So it's going to be a recreate for him of what we had in there. So that's the other thing. So number one, take that walk around, take pictures of your home so you can see what it looks like. Get the videos of it even more, so that you can keep like going back to. And if it's worth it to pay a professional photographer to come in. So I have this for my rentals. I have them. I have a Matterport virtual walkthrough, and
Mm.
I got pictures taken, and those are not just for me to rent it out. Right? I keep it. I have it there, and so that if anything is to happen, I have that to show the insurance company.
Right. So a Matterport, if you wondering what that is, it does this video walkthrough where you can press on buttons, right? And it'll
Like you're
take you down the
walking.
hallway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a virtual walkthrough of
Yeah.
the property.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
that's something I would highly advise. $300-400 to get that done. I mean, it is definitely worth it.
Mhm.
So I didn't have the video, but I did luckily have photos that I can use and go back to, and not just of the inside, the outside,
Mhm.
because like for instance, they will do an inventory, the insurance company of your place, but you have to, they're not very good at what was actually there. So my backyard, for instance, was fully decked.
Mhm.
Now they didn't put that on the inventory. They put sod. And I'm
Yeah.
like, like
Mhm.
here's my pictures of what I had there,
Mhm.
right? So I can prove it. because, you know, it's wood, it all burnt. It
Mhm.
started back there in the neighbor's backyard. So all of that was, you know, was burnt. So they didn't include that in there. So as much as possible. And then the other part is inventory, then take pictures, especially of your things that cost a lot of money,
Mhm.
like your content, you know, because that's been very difficult for us to recreate. So we have a list right now of over 2,000 items that the insurance company has gone in and itemized, but it's still missing a whole bunch. Like, for instance, my son's room that was incinerated, it's a recreate, so he has to remember what was there.
Mhm.
Right. And then they've missed a bunch of things. Like we've got um, a separate page, you know, on worksheet where is all the missing items that they
Mhm.
haven't listed. And also then they have descriptions of things that you're like, what is this?
Mhm.
I have no idea what they're describing. Right.
Right.
So,
So is
so
that where, how did you find a public adjuster?
they found me.
Oh,
It's like those lawyers that come after you when there's an accident, right?
oh, like an ambulance chaser.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. I like that.
They're fire chasers.
They follow the fire. Got it.
Yeah, but they do a lot of work in the Okanagan, actually.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, they do a lot of work in the Okanagan. So,
Okay.
am I seeing the benefit of them right now? No, they're taking 10% and they're not. I am actually the one chasing after them as what's happening with this, what's happening that. So instead of being proactive, they're being reactive. They only follow up with the insurance company when I am following up with them. So I'm not too impressed with that part. I spoke to other people that were in the Okanagan, worked with them, and they said they were able to get them more money than you know, than they would have been able to get on their own. I'm still to see that, but what I really needed right now was to get back into my house.
Mhm.
And it's almost 8 months. And oh no, it is 8 months. The 14th was 8 months.
Yeah.
And nothing's been done with my home. It's still, the inside is stripped back, but the outside and the roof and everything's still burnt out.
Mhm.
And nothing's been submitted to the township. So yeah, so I can't recommend right now to say that they were better or not. My idea of hiring them was this was traumatic for me. There's a lot of work. I've got enough on my plate. Let somebody else that are professionals work on it, that it's worth it. As we do in, you know, real estate investing, we say, give it to property managers, give it to these people when you value your time. Um, I don't know. Right now, I think I could have done it better because I'm more invested. Who's more
Mhm.
invested than myself, right? So, but it's still to be seen from a money perspective,
Okay.
right? So,
Well, that'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out for you. And
yeah.
so it must, but it sounds like perhaps it did help though, just with the initial, I mean, how do you even, it's so traumatic.
Yeah.
Like it's literal grief.
Yeah, so I mean, there are things that they told me right away that I was able to, you know, for instance, like don't sign anything until they review it,
Yeah.
because you don't know. You just want to. This is the first time this happening. Like you said, I'm in shock, etc. And they're asking the restoration companies coming in and asking me to like sign these forms. Are like blank checks to them.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, because I just want to.
Mhm.
So that was helpful. They explained my policy to me.
Mhm.
So this is something that I want everybody to take note when it comes to the policies. Number one, check and see if your policy says replacement or guaranteed replacement. If it says replacement, then the replaced value is the value that they have on your insurance policy. So there's a limit to that. So mine was 480,000 on there. So
Mhm.
that's my rebuild cost. That's the limit to which they will go to rebuild. Now there is something called inflation, but the inflation that they calculate is from the date you last renewed your policy to the date of the fire,
Mhm.
not to the date of the rebuild. So I just said it's 8 months already,
Mhm.
right? So in this, what we're going through right now with inflation skyrocketing every day, right? Yeah, it stopped in May of last year.
Mhm.
So, how much is that really on there? And as part of that rebuild, when the restoration company comes in and they're taking off your burnt trusses and they're pulling back things and they're getting engineering to come in to make sure you can walk on it, etc., all that money is already coming out of my rebuild.
Mhm.
For them to strip my home back, that's part of my rebuild.
That's like $50,000-$60,000 right there.
It's over
Demo.
60,000 that they've
Yeah.
already billed me for. So
Yeah.
now my 480,000 is down to 420,000 that I have
Because
to
you have
rebuild.
replacement? Because you have replacement
Because
insurance?
I have replacement and not guaranteed replacement. So
Okay.
guaranteed replacement
Mhm.
means that whatever it costs to rebuild,
Mhm.
they have to do it.
Mhm.
So my insurance company never explained. I thought I have replacement. That's great, right?
Mhm.
They actually never told me anything about this because they don't offer guaranteed replacement. So not all insurance companies offer guaranteed replacement. And the other thing is that rental properties don't get guaranteed replacement. They only get replacement.
Mhm.
So don't don't nickel and dime on your insurance policy, right? Actually fight. Like I actually had to go after the fire. I went back to all of my insurance as I had to renew, and I made them up my rebuild.
Mhm.
And the advisor's trying to go low on it. Actually,
Mhm.
they go,
Mhm.
oh well, this much, and I know costs for construction costs are way higher now. So they had like a loaded rate that they're using, and I made them push it on
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So I've pushed up. So what? I pay another $50,
Mhm.
right, on there. It's worth it to
So you
make
were
sure that
able
I'm covered.
to modify your home insurance to guaranteed?
No,
Oh,
I'm stuck
you
with
just
it.
changed,
No, I'm talking about my rental property. So after the fire,
oh,
and after I have an
sorry, I get it,
understanding,
okay. I'm
yeah,
like, wait, okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you did that for your rental properties so that you could get
If
more in
if
case.
anything happened now, because now it's not like it happens to other people, but not me.
Mhm.
Right? I know it can happen. So I wanted to make sure that what I'm going through right now with my home, that I
Mhm.
don't have that issue with my rental properties.
Right.
So, right. So I went back to the insurance companies. I made them up all of my rebuild costs on it. So don't try to get a lower amount so that you can pay less premiums on there. It's worth it,
Mhm.
right? When you're in the situation, it's worth it. Because right now I'm worried. Like, am I gonna have to go into my HELOC that I never had? Everything is being used for investment. Am I going to have to now use some of that to rebuild my home? Because I may not have enough coverage to rebuild what I had there.
Mhm.
Right.
Wow.
So that's definitely, there's also something called single allowance. And this may be my saving grace. So single allowance means that if I don't use all the money, so it's when you have in your insurance policy, you not only have your rebuild, you have like X amount. Mine's I think only 10,000 or something like that for code to get your house back to code. Because
Okay.
what they do is they first do a estimate
Mhm.
based on what you had there today, how
Mhm.
it was built. But my home was built in 2000.
Mhm.
Right? So there are new code rules.
Right.
So to rebuild, I will now have to spend extra to meet those new code rules, right?
Mhm.
So there's some money there. And if I don't use all my content insurance, so I have about 380 or 360 or something like that thousand in for my content insurance. If I don't use up all of that content insurance, as part of the single allowance, I can then dip into that money for my rebuild.
Okay,
Right?
that's good to know.
Same thing with landscaping, same thing, so there these other things that, but you have to make sure you have single allowance.
Okay.
But I would not have known that. And the insurance company will not explain, they won't go through your policy with you. They never did. After the fire, they never explained this. It's the public adjusters that explained that I could take money from these other places to do it.
Right. Okay.
The other thing is with the restoration companies, always get them to give you a quote first. So if they say, oh, we can clean up this for you and store it, etc., get them to do the quote for it. And if you can do it yourself, the insurance company has to pay you the money the restoration company quoted at. So for instance,
if you can pay for the restoration yourself, you mean?
If you can handle it yourself, somehow. So
Okay.
for instance, I'll give you an example, but most of my house was burnt out. But my garage, I had like my Christmas stuff in there. We had coats in there. No, those got, all of our coats that were in there, it got smoke damaged, right? So I fought for those to be, just get rid of that. But the restoration company quoted 10,000 to take out the things that were good out of there, such as like the tools, the snowboards, like the sports stuff, some of those, like the tubs, etc., and to store it. So they quoted me 10,000. I got my friend has a truck and a trailer to come. We took out all that stuff, they moved it, they helped us move it. In a rental, we've got a shed here, and we've just brought it all here. So now they owe me that 10,000.
Okay.
Right? So get the quote, and if you can do it yourself, get them to pay you that money instead. So
that's a workaround to get more from the insurance company.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
To get more from the insurance company. Like if there are things you can do yourself, but don't tell them you're going to do it yourself. Get the quote first. Right? That's important. You need that quote and say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. Write me the check and I'll take care of it.
Right. Yeah, we've had that done too. Like we had a basement renovation, got it quoted. It actually came in lower just because it came in lower and the guy found some used stuff, but we got the full amount from the insurance. Yeah. Based on the quote. Yeah.
Based on the quote. So that's something else to know. I would have just like said, oh, okay, or whatever, right? Do it. But you can do it yourself. So I was like, okay, at least this part I can do.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's definitely something that I learned from that. And so some good things. So we talked about the fact that I, done the home equity line of credit. So don't put off doing that. Everybody, you've got money. If you've got money in your home, get those line of credits. Even if you don't plan on doing real estate investing or anything, you may change your mind. But now with my house burnt out and at least if I hadn't already leveraged all of that, at least I would have had that money to do something with, so that's, that was number one. Number two is that I had all of my IDs in a file, right? That I was able to grab quickly. So when I saw the fire, when the fire was outside, we had like 1 minute. Well, it felt like it was probably more than that. But we should have run out of the house. That was wrong. And my neighbor, who's a fireman, came in and just gave us really a lot of heck for that. He used some words that I won't use on here. He
That'd be kind
apologized
of cool.
after, but it was because he cared. Anyway, but you know, basically, when we found out there was thing, we ran back into the house to grab something quickly. So I ran up to my office and I grabbed the file with our IDs in it.
Yeah.
Right? So that was one a good thing there from that. And then my son, he had his like camera and his laptop and all in a box, so he grabbed that. So, but we had no clothes. We were going to bed. So my older one, he was just in his, he just had a linen pants on, had no shirt, no shoes, and ran out of the house. But he had his camera. He got his cameras and his laptop, but he had no shoes, no
Selfies.
shirt.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was summer, right? It was a
Yeah.
hot day, so it was
Yeah.
well, it was May, so it was a hot day. So you know he was okay with that, but we had no clothes. We had no clothes,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
We also put on the oldest shoes we had at the door instead of our most expensive shoes.
Yeah.
So lesson from that is that you know moving forward, I will have what they call a go bag, right?
Mhm.
And have it near the front door, like
Yeah.
somewhere where you can, where your escape is, so that you have, because we had no toothbrushes, no toothpaste, no underwear. Like that's the hardest, like, you know, things, and no clothes. So like, I had to borrow underwear from my sister-in-law and I had to get, you know, like,
Well, I mean, you could have gone to Walmart, but hey,
not the
you
next,
you.
like it happened at night and the
No,
next
like,
morning. Yeah.
well, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm not. But yeah, like, oh man. Yeah,
Brandon had no clothes. He
if
couldn't
you
go
ran
anywhere. He
out,
had no shoes.
yeah, you just didn't think of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So have something, a go back there with those things, with some toiletries, some underwear, you know, and another pair of clothes, so that you have time now to go shopping.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in your pajamas in the middle of the night, how do you go shopping the next day?
No, no.
And we were getting ready to go to bed. Normally we would have been in bed.
Yeah.
But that day, because it was Mother's Day, things got delayed. We went out late for dinner. So it shifted things. Or I don't even want to think about it, Julie, what could have happened if we were asleep, because especially with my son's bedroom being like the first in flames.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's God looking out for you.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That things just got pushed, and, you know,
Yeah.
thank goodness for that, because we wouldn't have reacted as fast with the doorbell. We would, you know, all of those things. It just, yeah. So the go bag's really important, because like you said, Julie, a lot of times these things happen in the middle of the night where you're sleeping. So, and you're in pajamas.
It sounds like your smoke detectors didn't go off.
No, because the
And that's
fire was
because
outside.
it started outside your house.
Exactly. It wasn't in my house, so there was nothing to alert me to it. You know, by the time the fire was in the house, it was engulfed in flames,
Mhm.
because it came from the outside. It came along the back, straight up to the roof. Just
Yeah.
went straight up, right? So that fire was so hot, it was burning my. I was on my neighbor's driveway, and it was burning my face and my eyes.
And it
Right?
was started from a hot tub?
Yep, I don't want to live. I live any. I don't want hot tubs in my backyard. Don't want to live anywhere near a hot tub now.
Debbie's got a phobia now. I don't think there's a name for it, but
Hot tub phobia.
well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. I don't blame you one bit. Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so you know that's definitely something that you know I learned from that, is that you know have that go bag ready there, and then also like have your IDs in there, have your stuff there, because I had some time to run up to get mine, or have it in a fire retardant box so that you can get it after.
Yeah, that's what we have. We have a lot of precious stuff in a safe,
Yeah,
and it's fire retardant. So it's supposed to survive a fire.
yeah,
At the same time, yeah, if you've got time to go grab it, go grab it. So
yeah, yeah,
I have all kinds of things popping up on my screen. Folks might be seeing it. Looks like I got a little bit of a stalker. on Instagram.
Oh no, we can't see anything.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
no.
I have a frog in my throat. 2 seconds.
No worries.
Thank you. It's all messed up. Okay. There we are. We're back.
Yeah. So,
Well,
so that's important is like know where your IDs are, like keep it in together in one place so it's quick to pick up. Best thing to do is have it in something that's fire retardant. I didn't, but I was
Yeah.
able to, at least I was able to grab. So I grabbed our birth certificates and our passports, and so I was okay with that. And somehow our phones were left, and it was on the counter where the fire was. Some of the things got burnt, but it kind of jumped the phones. I don't know.
interesting.
And the car keys too. So that was the other thing that I was worried about is that there I had a car in the garage, and then it's like my son had just bought a BMW that was on the driveway. I was more worried about his car than mine.
Yeah.
It's but it's it burnt some of the fobs.
Okay.
Like some of those got melted. So
Mhm.
but that was one. The other thing is I was able to save my a lot of our photos.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
it was in the basement, and it was in albums that are have been are old now. They're-
Album. It's a book, people, with photos inside of it.
inside of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So oxygen was kind of like it was sealed in like it was sealed in there, right? Vacuum kind of sealed in there. Because remember those those plastic things that seal on there. So it was able all of those, and it was in the basement and things. So a lot of some of the things I was able to save was because it was in Rubbermaid tubs.
Mm-hmm.
So although the Rubbermaid tubs are smoky, what was inside didn't have any smoky smell and didn't have any soot on it. So that was also a good thing. So anything you're storing, like try to put it into like tubs where, like, so your albums, etc., have them in tubs where you can, it will, as long as the fire is not right there, melts the tub.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the damage comes in a fire, not just from the fire, but it's all the smoke and the water. So
Mm-hmm.
they had to really douse our home because they're close together, the homes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not townhomes, but they're very closely bit because they're strata lots. Right? They're bare land strata. So they were afraid. They actually upgrade the fire to commercial fire because of the homes being so close. But
Mm-hmm.
they were, we had like six or more fire trucks there. So just they had like 4 hoses on my home. So the basement was soaked,
Yeah.
absolutely soaked.
Yeah.
So
Flooded, probably. Yeah.
yeah, so so water damage and soot damage. So a lot of those things, the whole house was a write-off except for some of the things in the garage.
Okay. Yeah.
I did go in, so here's something else. Get them to do your inventory first, and then go in and see what you can save.
Mm-hmm.
You can take that out. It still comes on the inventory. They have to replace it, but you can take it and see if you can clean it.
Okay.
Porcelain, China stuff, you're able to save.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my where the right where the epicenter of the fire was where I had my like my china that I got for my wedding present. It was the only thing I asked for my wedding present. People were buying like plates because they're like $40 a plate, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, 40 pounds a plate because they were from England. They were in England.
Yeah.
But so those I thought were like they were burnt. I mean, there was like, thick, it was brown. It was like the fire was right in there. But I was able to take it out and wash it. I had took 3 washings, and some of the gold trims a bit,
Mhm.
a bit of it came off of there. But for the most part, I have them. They look lovely. And so it
Good.
just looks like maybe a little bit of wear and tear on it.
Yeah.
but I was able to save that. So, uh, and then some of like our pottery, etc. Do I have? No, I don't have it in here. So, but yes, Ellen, come back. Her.
Yeah.
She was right there in the fire too.
Yeah. She made
Right?
it. Yeah.
It's yard drill,
Okay.
right? It was black,
Okay.
absolutely black, but I cleaned her up. And so
Good
there
to
are
know.
things that, so the porcelain, like these kind of things that are fired and glazed, it's actually, you're actually able to save it.
Okay.
So I
Good to know.
did go in and take some of these things and clean them up.
Mhm.
Um, now after the fact, now they've taken, like, the restoration company has gone in and removed everything. There's a lot of other things I was like, I wish I'd gone and picked that up, or
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So, but it was so, going in there, it's dark.
Mhm.
It stinks of the smoke. It smells like smoked salmon, because
Oh,
it's the chemical, it's like all the stuff that's burnt, right?
yeah.
the
Interesting.
class the plastics, all that, the installation, all of that's
Well,
burnt.
everything's made of your carpet, your flooring, everything's made of
Yeah,
plastic. I mean,
exactly.
unless it's actually wood. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't smell like a bonfire. It smells like this. It's this awful smell, and also that smell just brings back like those memories and everything. So
Okay.
going in there was a bit like it's claustrophobic. It's dark. It's dingy. It smells. So when I went in, it didn't, like, it was hard to think about what I could try to save or what I was looking for. Also, when the insurance company doing the inventory, they're just grabbing stuff and throwing it everywhere,
Hmm.
right? So it's hard to find the things you would like to go back and save.
Right.
So
Um, do you know if well, you were in a bare land strata. Do you think if you were in like a single family home neighborhood, your insurance outcome might be different as far as, what's been done over the last 8 months? Do you know the answer to that?
no, it's not. It's not, because my neighbor who started the fire, whose hot tub started the fire, he's already rebuilding. It's the insurance company that's the issue.
Okay. So this
It's
bare
their
land does
speed.
not have, okay,
It's no, they have nothing to do with our home. Like
right.
it's nothing. It didn't hit any of the common
Okay.
property,
Mm-hmm.
right?
All
So
right.
it was all except for the mailbox, which is Canada Post.
Right.
Right.
Right. They're on
But
that. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, because mailbox was right in front of my house, the community mailbox. So,
Okay.
well, backyard area. So yeah, so that one got burnt out, and so people got a bit had to go pick up their mail for a little bit.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the Strata has no say in this here.
Okay.
So that's, that's, I don't know, what else can I share? I think
Yeah.
those are the key things around,
Yeah. I think you
around
covered a
that
lot.
there.
I was curious about first loss payable. When you got your HELOC, did you report to your insurance company that your HELOC was first? Does it need to be reported to your, because that's what we have to do with our mortgages.
Yeah, so no, as long as you're as long as you're insured, your home is insured.
Mhm.
The I did call to find out if they need it, and they were fine, as long as you, and that's why they always ask you when you're giving you a mortgage to see your insurance policy.
Right.
As long as you have your home is insured,
Mhm.
they don't care after that, because they know it's going to be rebuilt.
And they
Right?
don't care if you have a mortgage on it or whether it's a HELOC. There's no
Exactly. It's
difference to
still,
you.
the HELOC still considered like a mortgage.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
financing.
handled
Yeah.
differently.
Mm.
Yeah. But they
Okay.
still have a lien. Now they still have a lien on my home for
Mhm.
the HELOC, right?
Right.
So yeah. So they didn't care there, but there was no way I could get a HELOC if I didn't get
No,
it last,
not
when I
now.
did.
Right.
Not now, because right now it's worth 200,000.
Right. Exactly. Wouldn't be as much, probably. Right.
Right.
Um,
So yeah, so that's, max out as much as possible whenever you can. Get your, get your home, your HELOC. Even if you don't, even if you're like a person that will wanting to refinance your home or some at another time, get the HELOC first, have it there, right?
yeah,
Because that's the something I thought of after. Is like, thank goodness I have that,
yeah.
right? Especially when my two of my assessment, which is great because right now I'm not living there, but last year I had to pay 400 $4,000, in July for a
Mhm.
home that I'm not even living in. I'm not even in the same city anymore. Not
Yes, because
using any of the services, nothing.
right, just because of the timing of the tax
Yep.
bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I couldn't fight the assessment because it was too late. You have to fight it in January.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Ugh.
So yeah, so that's something I tried, but I couldn't find anybody to speak to. I kept being on hold and for
Mhm.
like hours to try to say before I had to pay this, to try to figure out to say, look, the house is no longer there anymore. Right? Do I have to pay this, 4,000? But I didn't want, I paid it because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't find anybody, but there must be some, I'd asked the public adjusters and they have, with all the fires they deal with, nobody's ever asked that question.
Right. And so that may be something you're able to chase down at a later date. Might be
I don't know if I can
credit
do it
back or something,
retroactively.
maybe. Who
Maybe I
knows?
can call right now, like because now they're doing assessments again and
Mhm.
see if there's some sort of credit I could get for last
Yeah,
year. I don't
maybe.
know.
Who
But
knows?
so yeah, so that is something I've considered, right now this year.
Mhm.
Checking to see. But yeah, so those are some of the big ones. I mean, I rushed to get into because I didn't want to stay in a hotel forever while they try to find me. So, you know, they do you have living additional living expenses,
Right,
which they code name ALE. Right. And that's what's covering my rental right now. And so but when you're first having to be in a hotel, that's part of that. So that
right.
comes out of there. So, but a hotel bill was like, I don't know, 700, there are four of us, right? Two rooms.
Yeah,
So that was like 700 or more dollars per
a
day,
night.
right? Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was coming out, that's coming out of my additional living expenses. So my fear right now, where with that again, that's got a limit of 96,000 on it for my
Right.
policy.
Yep.
Um, my right now the rent on here is 5,000 for where we're staying,
Mhm.
and then we spent all that money in the hotel,
Right.
right? And our place, right? We got an unfurnished place because
Mhm.
I just wanted to get. I needed to get my life together as fast as possible.
So you had to buy all your furnishings and
Yeah, so exactly. We had to buy our bed and all of those kind of things. So we could have waited for them to find us a place, but it's hard to find. We needed a 5-bedroom home
mhm,
because my son and I work from home. So we
mhm.
needed separate offices,
Yeah,
which we had in our home. So they have to provide you the same sort of accommodations as you had.
right.
Right.
So if you
So
had a 5-bedroom house, they need to provide a 5-bedroom house for you. But you
yeah,
still have a limited budget to work within
exactly.
with your living allowance or living expenses.
Yeah. So
So,
all of these things is what I'm pointing out these things because I want everybody now to go back and look at your allowances on there
mhm.
because you're like, oh, like you're just looking. A lot of people look at just the premium they have to pay instead
Right,
of the allowance. Like for content insurance, you look at that, make sure your content insurance is enough to replace at today's prices, not because you bought it 20 years ago,
mhm,
right? What would it cost at today's prices to replace all those things? Make sure that you have that much money there in your allowance.
mhm.
And the same thing with the additional living expenses. I'm freaking out at the moment because we're at 8 months.
Yeah,
Nothing's done with my home as yet.
mhm.
And try divide 96,000 by 5,000
Yeah,
And that's just, and that's not including they have to pay for garbage, and they have to pay for like lawn care, because all those things were taken care of as part of the strata,
Right. Mhm.
which I'm still paying. I'm still have to pay
The
all of
strata, because you still own that property.
exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. So all of the things I had to pay there, I still have to pay. So the insurance company has to cover that, but that's coming out of the ALE.
Mhm.
So
ALE is allowable living
uh, ad-
expenses. Okay.
additional living expenses.
Sorry,
Yeah.
additional living expenses.
Yeah.
So it just sounds like everybody needs to go take pictures and videos of your house, pull out your insurance information. And you know what? If you don't get it, if you don't get some things and you've listened to this and you've taken a bunch of notes, call your insurance provider and have them go through it with you. Do it now rather than, hey, explain this to me, with the
When it's already it's
fire
happened.
sirens are behind you,
Yeah.
right? So like take it, it probably won't take more than an hour. And like
Really understand what you
now's
have.
the time, at least if you're in the Okanagan and stuff. There was a time, during our fires that it was like, okay, you can't get a hold of any insurance company because
Mhm.
they're also in crisis mode, right? So now's a great time. Now's
Yeah.
a really
The
great
other
time.
thing, the other thing I would say is that, especially for people in the Okanagan that gets evacuated, right?
Yeah.
So you've got more than 1 minute like we had. Um, think about the things that you would want to pick up in your home,
Mhm.
right? Make a list of it, because when you're in that panic situation,
Mhm.
you're not thinking. It's like,
Yeah.
what do I get? What do I get? Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you were there. So
I
think
was.
about, like, make
Yeah.
a checklist of what, you would really like to pick up
Yeah.
and pack in
I
your car.
I had people, oh man, I tell you what, I felt so loved during that time. I had all these folks texting me and phoning me, what can we do? What can we do? I had 3 different people say, we've got a truck, we've got a trailer, we can come and empty out your house.
Yes.
And I was in denial. I was like, why would,
Why
why
would
would
I want to
that be
do
needed?
that?
And then I could not see my neighborhood for 2 weeks because of smoke.
Yeah.
And I saw flames, and you could tell when a house went up because it was like a mini, it was
Boom.
like it has
Yeah.
its own color of smoke because of all the chemicals in the houses.
Mhm.
And this is gonna sound ridiculous, okay, Debbie? Just keep in
Oh,
mind.
don't
I know
don't
you lost,
don't
I know
worry.
you
I
lost.
thought ridiculous things too. So
I had a month earlier gotten the most incredible deal on this living room set. And I'm not one to pay full price for anything or buy new
Mhm.
because I'm just kind of thrifty that way. And I was like, I got this. It was probably a $7,000 living room set for $350 because the guy just wanted it out of his house so he
Mhm.
could get his new $7,000, actually like $17,000 living room set. And I was so like happy about this. It's like buying a $700,000 house for
Oh
$35,000.
yeah, for two. Yeah.
Put it in real estate perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I was like, oh, I wish I would have taken him up and at least got my living room furniture because I just love it so much right now. It's so
Mm.
silly. It's just stuff. But um, yeah, like if you've got people that are willing to help you and you've got some time and you want to do that,
Yeah, because you don't like, you
yeah,
want to be able to, because the hassle,
yeah,
like, people say, oh, at least you were insured. Well, I am having to detail every single thing. I just mentioned over 2,000 items that I have to figure out what it means, what it is. And there's a whole bunch missing on
yeah.
there,
So
right?
there's a lot more to it. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you're fighting for it too. I'm having to justify everything. We've spent over, I think we've spent about I don't know, about 100,000 now with replacement stuff. Do you know how much the insurance has given us so far? 25,000.
wow. Yeah, that's a
And they
frustrating
don't
thing.
they don't pay for your credit card interest or your line of credit interest. And I'm waiting, and until I have that inventory finished and they validate it, and then I have to then take the all of those receipts and match it up with that inventory list. They don't want to pay. They don't
Yeah.
want to give me any advances. or anything like that.
Have you talked to your neighbor? Are they having a better experience? Sounds like,
They won't talk to me
well, because it was their fault.
because they're afraid
Mm,
to, yeah, they won't share
yeah.
any information
Ah,
because they're afraid that I will be suing them. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So so speaking of the neighbor,
Mm,
so and from real estate investing back to real estate investing here, make sure that your tenants in your lease, they have tenant insurance.
yep.
My neighbor's tenant, so my neighbor was no longer in there, by the
Mhm,
way. They had moved out through 2 years ago, so they had all their stuff. Their sons were in the basement, so
mhm.
they had created a suite in the basement for their sons. So they were staying there, but they had a family above. That family had no tenant insurance.
Oh, yeah. I know of quite a few folks here in these fires that were tenants. Because when you're a tenant, you pay tenant insurance, at least it's my understanding, that you get replacement and you get housing. So if
Exactly.
you're renting
Yeah,
a 5-bedroom house for $5,000 a month, they've got to provide you for the same thing.
exactly.
And so it is really important because, at the end of the day, it's not the landlord's responsibility, but you want your tenants to be looked after. And this kind of
Yeah.
thing, obviously, can and does happen. So that's another uh,
Yes. So make
really
sure
important
that
thing to do.
your tenants have the tenant insurance and they don't, because yeah, they so those tenants, they lost everything.
Yeah.
Like now they have to, spend money to buy back everything. And also they had no place to live. So they were in our neighbors, some of our neighbors were very kind and had them staying with them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they had no place to go.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing there.
Wow. Well, we've covered a lot. Thank you so much, Debbie. I
You're
know that
welcome.
this is going to be good for folks. Be proactive, everybody. In,
Take
in every
pictures.
area of life. Sorry, go
Take
ahead.
So to summarize, take pictures,
Mhm.
right? Take a video, take pictures of all your expensive things that you have so you can prove it. And like when I say take pictures too, like go in your closet, open your closet door and take a picture, stand back and take a picture. Because when you're recreating things now, you'll at least be able to see that dress, those pants, like the color that, and will trigger your memory. So even
Yeah.
if you can't do individual items, come out and take pictures of your drawers, of your closet, that will kind of trigger your memory when you're creating that. So pictures of as much as possible.
Mhm.
Um, a go bag, right? Put your important things in a fire retardant safe, or or a file that you can just pick up, or a safe if it's a lot of it. And really read your policy,
Mhm.
understand your policy, understand what you're going, push for higher allowances on your policy. Don't nickel and dime on the for the premium, for between like 50 to 100 bucks more. Definitely pay that. And also take pictures of your outside of
Yeah.
your home, not just the inside of the home.
And if you're going to choose, especially for your principal residence, because rentals don't offer guaranteed replacement. You want guaranteed
Key
replacement for your
replacement.
principal residence.
Yeah.
And
Guaranteed replacement. Look for single allowance so that you can tap into, money from one to the other,
mhm,
right? On there. Inflation, make sure that that's part of it too.
mhm,
That will cover for inflation.
mhm.
And what else did I say?
Well, look into
HELOC,
getting
and
a
take out,
HELOC.
yeah, take
Yeah,
out the HELOC. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Lots of folks have your house is probably increased in value,
Yep.
unless significantly since COVID, especially if you're in certain areas. So it'd be well worth looking into.
Yeah. Yeah.
HELOC.
Definitely.
All right. Yeah, that's a lot. Thanks again, Debbie. We're gonna have
My
Debbie's
pleasure.
contact information close by if you want to reach out to her. She's got a lot of exciting things coming up. a LinkedIn course that I've already started putting into use, and I'm getting more, I've been noticing I've been getting more social media
Impressions?
traction from some of the
Okay.
things that I learned from you. So thank you very much. And so make sure and check that out when she, or reach out to her for that information. She's also got a Facebook course that she's got available. And she's a real estate investor. She wants to help people retire early and be able to quit their 9 to 5 job. So make sure you check her out. It's been awesome spending so much time with you, Debbie. I
Yeah,
really
same here.
appreciate it. Yeah. I'm glad to have a new friend that I know even better. I appreciate all the information that you've shared with everybody. And I know just by doing this, you've been able to help a lot of people, and it does not go unnoticed. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, listen,
Thank
everybody,
you.
we will see you next time. Again, if you want to reach out to Debbie, her information is going to be somewhere around here. If you want to contact me, that's going to be around here too. Thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.